Hey guys, before we get to the Mezen review, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs, ring the bell. That way you get a notification every time we drop a new review.
Follow us on Instagram and also check out our live show, Whiskey Wednesday, 8 p.m. every Wednesday Eastern Time.
We'll see you in a minute. Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
And this is a board game rundown. And today we're going to review Mezen from Arcane Wonders. This plays 1 to 5 players. And in this game, we're playing old cave painters from the northern lands. And so we're going to do that. We're going to paint our caves by manipulating this grid of tiles in front of us. We're each going to have an individual shape of tile to represent like our scoring marker and everything, but for the most part they're all the same. Normally when you start the game you will start with 5 of these little rune or amulet tokens, and then your grid will be all white face up. We're gonna have scoring goals that are go around the board, and they're gonna resolve in clockwise order because that's important. And you will always know your current goal and then the next goal. So after we score this round, this card's going to flip over, and we're going to flip over the next card, so then we know what's coming up. So you can try to plan. Not always easy to do. And how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is we see this goal right here, and it's like foxes in all the different corners, right? So you're going to get 2 points for each fox that's in those corners. So you're going to try to manipulate your grid the best you can. And by doing the best you can, it's like I'm going to name an animal, a type of critter here on my tile, and everybody is going to have to pull off that a group of that tile, right? So if I set my little porcupines here, I've got a group, and then groups can also be connected by the spruce trees, which are on the dark side of the tiles, or you can connect them spending your amulets and placing that to sort of extend your reach. Now, if or you could also spend the amulet to exclude some of your tiles because you don't want those to come off. Because what's going to happen is, if I say that hedgehogs, Mike's got to pull off a group of hedgehogs. Any one group, not all of them, any one group. He could pick a group of 1. He's got a group of 2 here. He's got a group of 2 there. So he's going to pick which one. He could also go, I don't want to do that. He can pay me a tile and pick his own grouping that he wants to move. Mm-hmm. Or he could just like flip that 1 if he's trying to affect his board in the least way possible. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all these tiles off that connect, and blah, 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 and this will connect here. Then these tiles are going to flip over. So now I've got all those separate. Now all the tiles left in my grid are going to slide down. And then I can look at the tiles that I've got, and I can place them back in any order. So if I got a fox, so I want to make sure I get that guy in the corner. So let's just say I do that. You just still have to adhere to that 5x5 rule. I see I've got like horses coming up next. So maybe I'll strategically place a horse there. So now I'm going to go through, and Mike's going to look at his grid after he moved his, if Bob were here, he would do the same thing over here. And then we're going to score points. So I could get 2 points, 4, 6. I can get 6 points, or I could choose to not get the points from that card and take 2 more amulets. Amulets are really important because they do help you, either protect tiles, extend your groups, and then they're also worth a victory point at the end of the game for each one you don't use. Also, they're good to buy somebody else off so you can manipulate the grid that you want. So there's a lot of different variations of the scoring cards. The rulebook has an excellent section where they break it all down. The rulebook also does a very nice job of giving you very detailed explanations on like how the groupings work, how stuff slides down, and what makes a group. Another important thing to note, and it shows you right here on the board, is when you finish the 5th round, there's a black circle there. That means you're going to score an additional point for each of the tiles with the dark side face up. And when you get to the last round, the 10th round, after you have resolved that goal card, you are then going to score a point for each of the light side tiles you have. So any of the white tiles you have face up, you're going to get points for. And then you're going to choose 1 additional group and score points for that at the end of the game. So if you've got a good one going, like I got some birds right here that are pretty good, I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more points in addition to the 20 points that I'd have for my white tiles up here. So that's not a bad way to end the round. I wish I did that in our real game. But but that's a very brief overview and explanation of a turn. But like I pick after we've resolved that gold card, I basically pass the marker to Mike. Mike's gonna pick the thing, and it's gonna everybody resolves simultaneously. We get our scores. We move on to the next gold card. Mm-hmm. So it's all basically simultaneous play. Mm-hmm. So again, some people might get hung up trying to min-max some stuff or figure it out. But the only thing you really know on the other side of your tile is they do put a little spruce tree on there. So if that tile flips, you're going to get a spruce. And a spruce is just kind of like a wild for bridging the gap in your groups. So that tile will come off and flip as part of that group, but it doesn't actually count as a point towards that group. So
I wish I would have noticed those earlier.
We did say it in the teach. You can't see Bob, but he's shaking his head and he's face palming. There's a couple of things that Mike missed during the teach that I know we said.
Other than winning.
I don't want to hear you. Actually, I don't want to hear you complain about it because you beat everybody by at least 10 points and maybe doubled my score.
Probably concentrating and someone's talking to me while I'm concentrating. I don't hear anything. All right. So what did I think of this game? I think this is really great. Let's talk about crunch per rule ratio, which I think this game excels at. Mm-hmm. It is very easy to teach. It plays quick. Turn structure is fast, especially since everybody's playing simultaneously. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot to consider on your turn here, like trying to group these animals up together and have these other tiles cascade in a way that maximizes scoring, not just for this round, but in future rounds, feels really good. I like this spatial puzzle that I'm doing and trying to get these different groups of animals together to maximize this point scoring opportunities. And then sort of the risk reward of these amulet tokens of, being able to change what animal was called out so that you can flip different animals over. But by doing so, you're costing yourself a point. So is doing that going to gain you more than the point that you're giving up is an interesting decision on each turn. Or I don't want to score anything. Give me 2 more amulets, which could be 2 points or more flexibility in future turns. Mm-hmm. I like that decision each turn. I found this really fascinating for the simple rule set that it offers.
Yeah, really, we played this with Teach in, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast. It's pretty fast. Mm-hmm. What I really appreciate is that the simultaneous play, because this could get bogged down otherwise. And it does not. It does not suffer from that because of the simultaneous play. Yeah, there might be a few times where either you're taking a little bit longer or one of your neighbors is, but as long as everybody's kind of keeping it moving a little bit, you don't need people to feel rushed, but you want them to keep the game moving. But this, because it's simultaneous, it does a nice job of that. I never felt like this drug or overstayed its welcome. Now, I will say it's a little fiddly, right? You're manipulating this grid. You want to make sure you're not bumping it because that could be a disaster. If somebody did that and you're like, what do I do now? It happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen every time. And it's just, whatever. That's not really worth knocking at points or anything. I'm just more of a public service announcement. Be aware. Don't fudge up your grid. Keep your grid the right way. Mm-hmm. Make sure you're paying attention as you're sliding stuff down, as you're pulling those tiles out, because you don't want to mess it up too much because it could get out of sorts really easily, really quick. So be careful. But so the game is a little fiddly, but that's a feature, not a bug, I don't think. It's just the nature of that grid manipulation and those choices. But the choices are really interesting. I appreciate sort of the hidden goals. There's a stack of goal cards, and they've got a pair of symbols on the bottom. So you're going to pick one of those symbols. Bob picked the teardrop. So I went and found the 12 goal cards that have the teardrop on it. Then you shuffle them all up and you put 10 out. So 2 of those with the teardrop aren't even out. And so if we were to play again, pick a different symbol. Maybe we pick the sun. So now we're going to go through that whole stack of cards again and pull all the 12 out with the sun on it.
How big is the deck?
It's a big deck. It's a big deck. Hold on.
Okay, so we got a lot of replayability here,
Lots
which
of
I
different
didn't get to
choices.
see until now.
Yeah, we didn't want to show him that. Why would we tell him that? He's beating the pants off everybody. And again, the rule book does a really great job. I think there's 36 different cards, maybe more. But it breaks down like cards, 1 through 6 might be
Totally different.
might be pretty straight up. Yeah, like all kinds of different stuff. And the cards are numbered, so it makes it very easy to look up in the rule book, which I really appreciated. So there's some really interesting choices, all kinds of neat stuff, lots of replayability. Again, your grid is going to be different every time, when you set it up, because you're just going to kind of shuffle those tiles and lay them out 5 by 5. Boom, go. I mean, Mike had over 100 points. It's going to be a high-scoring game, usually, unless you're really bad at it. But yeah, and then you're trying to line up your trees. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to score in this game. So that gives this a lot of variability from game to game.
Yeah. All right, Mike, we are going to rate this game on Board Game Geek. How do we do that?
We're going to score this game from 0 to 10,
yeah.
although really 0.5 to 10 because we use 0.5. So who's
Sure.
going to rate a game of 0.5?
Not me.
BGG rounds it up to a 1 anyway.
That's true.
And then we're going to average our scores together to give you the one score that we put on BGG, Discord, or anywhere you want to know the rundown score for the game.
All right, Mike. The public wants to know, what do you rate Mezen?
I like the simultaneous play and how easy it is to play out a turn, but yet it gives you a ton to think about on each turn. That is an important metric for me in games, is how heavy is the rule set compared to how many decisions I have based on the rule set. And this rates really high on that. I mean, playing out a turn is very simple, but planning this round scoring and then trying to plan out for the next round scoring while also trying to think, all right, bow round 5, I need more of my black tiles showing. And at the end of the game, I need more of the white tiles showing. Really creates an interesting puzzle that I enjoy quite a bit. And so I will give this an 8.
Right on. Yeah, I think everything Mike said, right? Everything Mike said, I agree with. I think is really interesting. Lots of good choices. My only issue with this game is I don't know, like outside of you guys, I might have a hard time teaching this to lighter weight gamers that their eyes might glaze over as I get into the tile rules. And I say this coming out of like the holidays of when we filmed this, and I've been teaching a lot of very straightforward and very light games. So I think for experienced gamers, this game is going to feel light. And it is for experienced gamers. For unexperienced gamers, this is going to seem a little more complicated than what they're used to. It shouldn't be overwhelming, but I'm just speaking to like some of the inexperienced gamers that I kind of throw games at sometimes. And then with like the little bit of the fiddliness. So for me, as far as like getting it played and everything, I'm going to give it a 7. I think this game is really good. I would definitely play this game anytime somebody pull it off the shelf, unless there's somebody with like really bad AP around. And I'm like, nah, pass.
Lots to consider.
Hard pass. But, and I think that because there's like a couple of things that I need to take into consideration before I play this is what docks it a little bit. But I think gameplay is really good. I think the abstract theme is actually really cool. And the way that comes across. And I think if you like this kind of puzzle thing, this is just a no-brainer. You should absolutely get this game. But I'm just speaking for myself and sort of like the groups when I'm not with these guys, like who I'm running into.
Yeah, because it is really thinky. And the way you actually resolve a turn is like I don't know of any other game that quite resolves a turn the way that this does. So I can see your point that teaching this to like casual gamers is more tricky than a deck building game or a worker placement game or an action selection game. Once you've played a couple of those, you know how those games work. This game doesn't have a turn resolution.
This game's so unique that I don't have a way to scaffold.
Yeah, you can play this because it compares to this game.
Yes.
I don't know what to compare it to.
It stands alone.
I like that it's unique.
That's really good.
But yeah, I can see that being a barrier to teaching more casual gamers.
So what's that bring our average score to? Should be easy with 2
It
of
is
us.
a 7.5.
There we go. Solid score. And again, love the art design. The rule book does a great job. lots of examples, breaks down every single scoring card. The rule book looks like there's a lot there, but it's really because there's pages of examples and like step-by-step breakdown of how the turn works, how the scoring works, like everything. So boom, 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 boom. So you can go through and you can find all of those answers in there. They really did a great job with that. So awesome.
Yeah, and since I haven't said anything about components or art, which I usually like to, I do like the style of this art and how they based everything around black, red, and white. I think is a really cool decision. And just the stylized animals is really unique. And these chits are thick enough, not enough to make the game super expensive, but not thin, chintzy, or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't feel like a ripoff, and the cards are decent. They're okay. They're not going to get handled that much, so they just need to get out on the board and not get bent and creased easily. So great job, Arcane Wonders. A solid outing. Anything else before we sign off?
No, I think that's it for me.
All right, guys. For the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I was Mike.
We'll see you next time.
I was Bob.
Get out of here.